I used to stand in front of the mirror and lie to myself about my part line. Told myself it wasn't that thin. It was. Every woman with fine, thinning hair past 60 has had that exact moment. The one where the overhead light hits wrong and you see more scalp than you'd like. Here's what I've learned after digging through what stylists actually recommend versus what they quietly steer women away from. There are 3 shortcuts that don't just hide thinning hair. They use the thinness to their advantage, creating movement and lift that thick hair genuinely can't do as well. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50 so you get real results fast. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every single week. Part 1. The textured pixie that tricks the eye. Here's something most women don't realize about fine hair. The shorter you go, the more density it appears to have, not less. It sounds backwards. Longer fine hair stretches thin under its own weight, and every inch past the shoulder is another inch of gravity pulling volume flat. A textured pixie does the opposite. It works with short lengths where the hair can't collapse on itself, and that's the entire secret nobody explains clearly. Rosalind came to me after 15 years of the same chin-length bob, convinced anything shorter would make her look severe. She'd been avoiding pixies the way some women avoid bright lipstick, certain it wasn't her. What she didn't know is that a bob on fine hair, past a certain length, is actually working against her. The weight of it drags the crown flat within an hour of styling, no matter how much mousse she used. The fix is a textured pixie cut with disconnected layers at the crown. Cut short enough that the ends sit above the ear at their longest point. Here's exactly how to ask for it. Tell your stylist you want point-cut layers through the crown with a disconnected nape. That specific phrase matters because a standard pixie uses graduated layers that lie flat, while point cutting leaves the ends slightly jagged, and jagged ends physically can't lie flat against each other. They prop each other up. That's where the illusion of thickness comes from. Not more hair, just hair that's been cut to stand rather than settle. The crown gets the most attention. This is where thinning shows first and where volume matters most for the overall silhouette. A good stylist will point cut 2 to 3 inches at the very top, leaving pieces short enough that a light texturizing product can lift them without weighing them back down. The sides stay slightly longer, tapering toward the ear, which does something clever. It draws the eye upward and outward rather than down toward a thinning part line. Here's the snapback moment. Once this cut grows in over about 4 to 6 weeks, most women report something they didn't expect. People stop asking if they've been sick or tired. That sounds dramatic until you understand why it happens. Flat, thin hair around the face reads as fatigue to the human eye. It's an unconscious association most of us don't even realize we're making. Add volume and texture back into that same space, and the read changes completely. You look rested. You look like you slept 8 hours even on a night you didn't. Styling it takes under 5 minutes, which matters more than people admit. Rough dry with fingers lifting at the roots. Apply a dime-sized amount of texturizing paste to dry ends only. Never at the roots. That's where most women overdo it, and end up with greasy-looking flatness instead of texture. Diane, who I mentioned this to during a consultation, told me she'd been using volumizing mousse at the roots for years, and wondering why her hair still looked thin by noon. The mousse was the problem. It's designed for longer hair that needs hold against gravity. Short point-cut layers need lift, not hold, and those are 2 different jobs. The before was Rosalind's flat bob, weight pulling everything down by mid-morning. Crown visibly thin under any overhead light. The after is a point-cut pixie with real dimension at the crown. Ends that hold their shape through an entire day without a single touch-up. She told me 2 weeks in that she finally stopped avoiding the harsh bathroom mirror at her daughter's house. The one with the light everyone complains about. It didn't scare her anymore. But the pixie isn't the only cut that plays this particular trick with fine hair. There's a second option that does something the pixie can't, and it's the one most stylists recommend first when a client isn't ready to go quite that short. Part 2. The layered bob with the hidden lift line. There's a specific reason so many women land on a layered bob instead of a pixie, and it has nothing to do with courage. It has to do with jawlines. As we age, the jaw softens slightly, and a cut that ends right at or just below it does something a shorter pixie sometimes can't. It gives the eye a defined edge to land on, which visually sharpens the whole lower face. For fine, thinning hair specifically, though a bob only works if it's built correctly, and most aren't. Colette had been getting the same long bob for years, the kind that grazes the collarbone. She loved the length. What she didn't love, though never said out loud until we talked, was that it looked thinner every single month between cuts. That's not her imagination, and it's not bad luck, it's math. Fine hair grows at the same rate as thick hair, but it doesn't gain visual density as it grows. It just gets longer and thinner looking, stretching the same amount of hair over more inches. The fix is a jaw-length layered bob with what stylists call an internal lift line. Layers cut inside the perimeter of the hair rather than at the visible edge. Ask for it exactly this way. A blunt perimeter with internal layering starting 2 inches above the ends. The blunt outer edge is what makes the hair look thick from the outside, because a straight across line reads as more solid than a feathered one. The internal layers, hidden underneath that blunt edge, are what create movement and volume at the root without shortening the overall length or breaking up that solid outer line. This is the part most stylists skip when they're rushed, and it's the part that makes or breaks the whole cut. The internal layers need to start close enough to the scalp that they can actually lift. Layering that only begins mid-shaft does nothing for root volume. It just adds movement to hair that's already hanging. For genuinely fine hair, those internal layers should start no more than 2 to 3 inches from the root, which sounds short, but it's exactly what gives the crown lift instead of leaving it pancake flat under the blunt line. Here's the result that surprised Colette most. The bob didn't just look thicker, it looked younger by association. In a way she couldn't quite explain until I walked her through it. A blunt, defined edge signals precision and intention. It reads as a deliberate choice rather than hair that's simply been left to grow. Wispy, undefined ends, on the other hand, read as neglect even when the hair itself is healthy. The same amount of hair, cut 2 different ways, tells 2 completely different stories to anyone looking at her. Maintaining the shape matters as much as the initial cut. Blow dry with a round brush lifted straight up at the roots, section by section, rather than pulling the brush down and out the way you might have for decades with longer hair. Pulling down flattens exactly the lift you just paid for. A light mousse at the roots. This is one of the rare cases where mousse at the root actually helps, because the blunt perimeter gives it something to hold against, unlike the Pixie's shorter, jagged ends. The before was Colette's long, thinning bob, ends fraying and losing shape by the 3rd week after every cut. The after is a jaw-length blunt bob with hidden internal lift, holding its density look for the full 6 weeks between appointments. She told me the compliment she got most often afterward wasn't about the cut itself, it was people asking what she'd changed, unable to name it. That's the sign a cut is working with your face rather than just sitting on your head. There's a third option though for women who want even less daily effort than either of these first 2. And it might be the lowest maintenance cut on this entire list. Part 3. The cropped shag that works while you sleep on it. Of the 3 cuts in this video, this is the one I get asked about most in comments, because it looks effortless in a way that makes people assume it's high maintenance. It's the opposite. A cropped shag is built specifically to look intentional even after you've slept on it, which for fine hair is an enormous advantage, since fine strands hold curl and shape less predictably than coarse hair overnight. Marguerite told me she'd avoided this cut for years because every photo she'd seen of a shag looked shaggy in the bad sense, messy, unstructured, more suited to hair with natural body than her fine, straight texture. That's a fair concern, and it's exactly why the cut has to be built with heavy, choppy layering specifically calibrated to fine hair, not borrowed wholesale from a cut designed for thicker texture. The fix is a heavily layered crop, cut just above the jaw at its longest, with razor-cut face-framing pieces and short, choppy layering throughout the crown and back. The phrase to give your stylist is specific. Razor-cut shag layers, heavier through the crown, with a piecey fringe. Razor cutting, rather than scissor cutting, is the detail that makes the difference for fine hair. A razor removes weight along the length of each strand rather than just at the ends, so the layers taper naturally instead of ending in a blunt line that fine hair can't support with volume. The crown gets the heaviest layering of the 3 cuts in this video, deliberately, because the goal here isn't a defined edge like the bob or a lifted point like the Pixie. It's texture that looks the same whether it's freshly styled or 3 hours and 1 nap later. Short, irregular layers throughout the crown mean there's no single correct direction for the hair to fall, so it doesn't have a wrong way to settle. That's what makes it forgiving in a way the other two cuts, however good, aren't quite. Here's the part that changes how people actually experience their mornings, not just how the cut looks in the mirror. Marguerite described getting ready for a lunch with friends, running her fingers through it, adding a small amount of texture spray, and being out the door in under 10 minutes, with the wind doing more of the styling on her drive than her hands had. She said it was the first haircut in a decade. She didn't have to plan her whole morning around. Styling, when she does want more shape, takes one product. A texture spray with a light hold, scrunched into damp hair with her hands, never brushed. Brushing a shag smooths out exactly the irregular layers that give it character, which is the single most common mistake women make the first week after this cut. Reaching for old habits from a smoother, longer style. The before was Marguerite's longer, undefined length, requiring a full styling routine every morning just to look presentable. The after is a razor-cut shag with built-in texture that survives sleep, humidity, and a rushed morning without a single tool in hand. What surprised her most wasn't the compliments, though they came. It was how much time she got back. 15 minutes a day, every day, is over 90 hours a year. She said that math alone would have been worth it even without the compliments. Now that you've got all 3 cuts, there's one more thing that separates women who keep this look sharp for months from women who lose it within 3 weeks, and it has nothing to do with the cut itself. Part 4. What keeps all 3 cuts looking sharp? Here's something no one tells you when you leave the salon with any of these 3 cuts. The haircut is only half the equation. The other half is what happens between appointments. And this is where even a perfect cut can quietly fall apart if you're using the wrong products or the wrong tools without realizing it. Fine, thinning hair has a specific enemy, and it isn't age, it's product weight. Every one of these 3 cuts depends on hair that can lift and hold texture. And heavy products, the kind marketed as nourishing or smoothing, coat each strand and make it heavier than it needs to be. What works beautifully on thick, coarse hair actively works against fine hair, weighing down exactly the volume you just paid a stylist to create. The fix starts at the sink, before any cut or style even comes into play. Use a volumizing shampoo specifically labeled for fine hair, and skip conditioner at the roots entirely. Apply it only from mid-length to ends, where the hair actually needs the moisture. Conditioning the roots on fine hair is one of the most common invisible mistakes I see, because it feels like a caring, thorough habit, but it's quietly flattening every cut in this video from the very first wash after you leave the salon. Once a week, alternate in a clarifying shampoo. Fine hair shows product buildup faster than thick hair does, because there's simply less hair to disperse it across, so residue sits closer to the scalp and weighs things down within days rather than weeks. Diane, who I mentioned earlier with her Pixie, told me this single change made more visible difference to her volume than any styling product she'd tried in the 2 years before her cut. Drying technique matters just as much as product choice, and it's where I see the most well-intentioned mistakes. Never let fine hair air dry flat against the scalp. As it dries in that position, it essentially sets there, and once it's dry, no amount of product will lift it back up without re-wetting the roots. Instead, flip your head upside down for the first 60 to 90 seconds of drying, directing warm air at the roots specifically. This single habit does more for lasting volume across all 3 of these cuts than any single product on the market. Here's the result that ties all 3 cuts together, whichever one you choose. Regular trims every 4 to 6 weeks aren't optional maintenance for these styles, they're structural. Every one of these 3 cuts relies on precise internal shaping, whether it's the Pixie's point cut crown, the Bob's hidden lift line, or the Shag's razor cut layers. And as hair grows out even slightly, those internal lines shift and the volume they were built to create starts to soften. A cut that looked incredible at week 1 can look merely fine, no pun intended, by week 7 if it's not maintained on schedule. Rosalind, Colette, and Marguerite all told me some version of the same thing once they'd lived with their new cuts for a few months. The maintenance felt lighter, not heavier, than what they'd been doing before. Fewer products. Shorter styling time. Just the right habits instead of more effort. The before for all 3 women was the same invisible pattern. Heavy products, roots conditioned into flatness, air drying that locked hair against the scalp before it ever had a chance. The after is a routine so simple it fits into the same 10 minutes they used to spend fighting with hair that wouldn't cooperate anyway, lighter products, upside-down roots, trims on schedule. Small changes, holding up 3 completely different cuts, for 3 completely different women. You've now got 3 cuts that actually work with fine, thinning hair instead of fighting it, and the exact habits that keep any of them looking sharp for months, not weeks. Whichever one you choose, you're not settling for the best I can do with what I have anymore. You're working with a plan built specifically for your hair. And that's a completely different feeling walking into your next salon appointment. Which of these 3 spoke to you the most, the pixie, the bob, or the shag? Tell me in the comments, and if you've already tried one, tell me how it held up after the first month. Next week I'm covering the exact color placements that make thinning hair look denser without a single extra cut. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.